Hello? Hello? Hold on. Hold on.
Hi there.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. How you doing?
Okay, good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking.
Oh, no problem. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to turn up something here. All right. Hold on. There we go. All right. One small quick question. Is it Minnich or Minnich?
Minnich.
Minnich. Okay. Just I didn't think to ask that before, and I was like, oh man, I forgot to ask, and I want to be.
Thanks for asking.
No problem. The next thing you have coming up is Intrusion, right?
I do. I have a Netflix film called Intrusion coming out in October.
Okay, let me. I just wanted to lead with that.
Right.
So let me do a quick intro, and then we should be good. Okay. All right. Welcome back to the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we have Sarah Minnich, star of the upcoming Netflix film Intrusion. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good. You're in LA?
Yeah.
Okay. How is it out there?
It's beautiful. Sunny day at the beach.
Yeah. Were you born there?
I was born in a place called Lancaster in the Antelope Valley, which is about hour and 15 out of LA north.
Okay. So LA was kind of like the big city.
It was.
Yeah.
It was right where I wanted to go as soon as I was old enough to go there.
Gotcha. Well, tell me a little bit about how you got started and your pathway to where you're at now. You were last seen in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. You were kind of had an interesting part at the end of the film, if I remember correctly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So you might actually end up, for whatever reason, being in a sequel, perhaps because I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone, but I mean, there's a reason to think that you may return somehow because, well, see the movie. It's a good movie. Do you have any hopes for that?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. So you can't. All right. Because I know they're doing a lot of universe building around it.
Yes.
So that's kind of cool. Let's see here. Well, tell me a little bit about what got you up to this point in your career. I mean,
sure.
What got you into acting? Sorry.
No, don't worry. What technically got me into acting was in 2005, I auditioned for a Scream Queen movie called Spring Break Massacre. And I played a young, pretty girl who's, well, I don't want to spoil the film, but I played a girl who is at a cabin with her girlfriends and some guy friends. And the cabin starts to be, I don't know, stalked by this dark figure, and it ends up being someone I know. Anyway, typical Scream Queen type film. So I did that in 2005 and sort of fell in love with the process of acting and the process of filmmaking. And then I took a hiatus for a few years in Los Angeles and made some really exciting life mistakes. You know how that goes when you're young. Sure. And then eventually went out to New Mexico and started finally back up acting around 2010. And I didn't really go straight into SAG after type stuff. I started doing sort of background and stand-in work. And then finally in 2011, I got my SAG card by working on the AMC show Breaking Bad. And I had a very small role. For some reason they cast it as SAG-AFTRA because the role was very physical with Aaron Paul. And so I got my SAG card that way. And then ever since then have been working consistently a few times a year. And then last year more, and then the year before that, you know what I'm saying? So it's really picked up in the past few years. And I've been very fortunate. And then finally came out to LA to start working here. And the most recent thing that I did in LA was a feature directed by Charles Murray called Brother's Keeper. They might change the name to The Devil You Know. And so I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, I saw you're in a lot of projects, but I want to kind of double back to you were in Breaking Bad, you said, and you were on Better Call Saul. And you played a receptionist. I forget which of the firms.
Sure. At Hamlin and McGill, I played Brenda, which is the front desk operator chick. And for a while there, they were considering doing something with her storyline, but it ended up being that Ray Seahorn's character, and Ray Seahorn and I are a little bit too, she's a very different actress than I am and much more experienced than I am. However, our characters, some people were confused. I don't know why you would be confused, but some folks were, because we're both blonde and we have a very sort of typical look. And so for some reason, I think that reason, they didn't end up taking the character further. And then there was some thought that they might actually connect the character of Brenda to what was happening in the episode called 38 Snub that I was in season 4 of Breaking Bad. But again, it didn't end up going that route. So
okay, well, it's still pretty cool. You're in both worlds.
I wasn't angry.
Yeah. Well, I let's talk a little bit about. I want to mostly focus on Intrusion, but
Sure.
I also noticed you have a bunch of stuff coming up as well that looks interesting. So tell me a little bit about what Intrusion is, and just your getting cast in the role, and how filming went for you.
Oh, it was an excellent experience, and it was right when the COVID situation was sort of, when film was sort of coming back from the COVID situation. So, it wasn't too long ago that we filmed it, and I remember I have a picture of me on set with like a mask on, but then also a whole face cover and everything. Director was Adam Salke, and I believe he also teaches at AFI. So it was really excellent to get to work with him. And he since, I guess, talked to another director or two about me, which was really nice to hear. So I'm going to be starting another project in October that I can't really talk about yet, with somebody that he's worked with a lot. Anyway, the cast, Frieda Pinto is the lead in it, and then Logan Marshall Green is the second lead, and I was able to sort of come in as a strong supporting in that, which I was thrilled by. In terms of getting cast, let's see, what can I tell you about that? I mean, it was a fairly traditional casting process, except for it was traditional according to the new COVID time. So instead of going in office, everything was done over Zoom. And so we did the Zoom type situation. We did callback over Zoom. And then I was cast, and I was really thrilled to work with him. I got to work with, play across from Hayes Hargrove, and he's an excellent actor, has a background in improv. And so he was really funny and entertaining to work with, and just overall excellent experience, really a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, was that intended as a Netflix movie from the start, or okay, so it was a Netflix production? Sometimes, Netflix or Amazon or whoever pick up movies from other places. So I wasn't
sure. No, from what I understand, initially when I got the breakdown for it, when my agent sent me the audition, it was Netflix. And so I don't know if, so the writer was Chris Sparling, and I'm not sure if him and Adam, along with the producers, all got together with Netflix, or if the producers were part of Netflix and they approached, or what the situation was there. But yes, it's Netflix, and I'm thrilled to work with Netflix. I love working with Netflix, and this isn't the first time. I worked on a Netflix television show called Godless. I worked on a Netflix show called The Ridiculous Six with Adam Sandler, and Netflix in general has been really good to me, and it's a great company to work for as an actor, in my experience.
Yeah.
And then you asked a little bit what it's about. It's a thriller. Yeah. And basically, Frieda, the woman who plays the lead character, her and her husband moved to a small town, and she's targeted for home invasion. And then these interesting things start happening that lead her to be really curious about what's really going on. And so, yeah, I can't give much more than that.
Okay, can you tell who your character is?
Yes, I can tell you that my character plays Frieda's close friend,
Okay.
and her office manager type person.
Gotcha.
And then you'll have to watch it to get
Okay.
more information.
What? How long was the filming? How long did you actually film? You said you were masked up a lot of times. You were coming back from the early days of COVID. So what was the film? Location like? Did you film in LA? And basically, how long did it take?
It was filmed in New Mexico. The part that I was in
Oh,
was filmed in New Mexico. And I was on set for a couple weeks. And I think the New Mexico unit was here for maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And then they did some stuff as well in Los Angeles. But yeah, my part was filmed here in New Mexico. And in terms of locations, again, I don't want to get into too much detail for the fear of breaking any sort of confidentiality. But as I said, the couple moves to this new place and then they have a home invasion take place. And the home where the home invasion takes place, we at one point we filmed sort of a I want to say like a party get together kind of scene there. And it was just a stunning home in the Northeast Heights of Albuquerque. And it was really exciting to see some of the crazy architecture and not crazy, but different and new and exciting architecture that people are doing.
yeah. How was working with Frieda and Logan?
Very professional. Frieda was really on target. She was in her zone. She has an assistant. She spends a lot of time with her assistant. And because of the COVID situation, they tried to keep everybody fairly separate. And so everybody sort of had their own little holding rooms because
Gotcha.
they couldn't have actors, collecting. And Logan had a holding room completely in another area. And it wasn't because they didn't want us interacting for a personal or professional reason, but simply because of COVID. And so the interaction that I got to have with Frieda and Logan was primarily on set when we were about to roll. And even then, we've got masks on and coverings on and everything. And just the second before you roll, they're like, okay, let's remove PPE and da 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 da. So yeah, it took longer in that sense, but and I wish I could have spoken more with them, but again, they had to really keep it on lock because of COVID.
Yeah. What are the? I mean, was that your first film during this time of dealing with COVID?
It was the first film. I had just done a television show though called Them Covenant.
Okay.
And that was also during COVID, but it was produced. Them Covenant came out on, I'm having a brain blank all of a sudden, Amazon. Okay. Amazon Prime, and Amazon's very strict as well. Netflix and Amazon, they're not playing around. And so when it comes to the COVID requirements, they are on them. And so I had just gotten off of Them Covenant and strict requirements there. And then what would have been a normal 1 week filming on Them Covenant turned into 2 or 3 weeks because there was such incredible hardcore requirements in terms of what had to happen being with COVID and how many actors could be on set and what kind of, if anybody even had a sniffle, we're like, we're done for the day. Everybody's getting retested. And so,
So it basically adds more time to the production, or you have to be there earlier to go through testing?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I had to be there approximately 15 to 30 minutes early, which isn't a big deal. I had to be there 15 to 30 minutes early each day to have the nose swab done for the COVID testing every single day. And then not only that, but we couldn't start shooting each day until every single person, including background actors, including crew, including cast, everyone, the people serving food, everyone had to be tested. And they wouldn't even let anyone step foot on set or come out of their different quarantine areas until they were tested.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Makes sense. I saw in your list you've done your credits. You've done a couple TV shows that were fairly recent. One was Deputy with
Mhm.
Stephen Dorff, and the other was Briar Patch with Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
How was your experience on those? You had
Oh, wow.
a
I
supporting
mean,
role on both, correct?
yeah, I have to really talk about Briar Patch and Andy Greenwald. So Andy Greenwald was the showrunner, co-writer, well, most of the writing, but he also had some people helping him with writing, and director for Briar Patch. And I owe him so much, Andy Greenwald. I mean, I was only supposed to be on Briar Patch for one episode as a reporter. That was it. And then apparently he liked what I did. And so I ended up being a 6 or 7 episode recurring character. And then they had me do the entire podcast. And so
Okay.
I ended up building this great relationship with Andy Greenwald and the Briar Patch team and NBC Universal. And it was such an honor to have a director be like, I like your work. And in fact, I like your work so much that I want to expand what you're doing in the show. And so I couldn't ask for more in terms of what happened on that show. And then with Deputy, Stephen Dorff was great. I mean, really great professional, very strong actor, good to work with, isn't a smack talker. He's just somebody who comes in, does his job, treats people with respect, really wonderful to work with. The only thing I can say about Deputy was that was maybe one of the most uncomfortable costumes I've ever worn.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to see the show, and I know that they already canceled it, which probably is kind of a bummer. But it looked interesting. I have a real hard time with network shows, to be honest. That I don't tend to start getting into them until maybe they're a couple or few seasons in, because I hate wasting the time because they're so fickle with it. And that's to some extent not to throw shade at Netflix on your time, but Netflix has also become rather quick to cancel shows too, and it unless something's really speaking to me, I don't tend to jump at it anymore. But Deputy seemed like a interesting show, and you were on a great portion of the episodes that aired, correct?
It goes on four episodes
Okay.
for Deputy, and I got to play a deputy. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. I really enjoy playing military police professionals. And in fact, today I had a callback for another police officer role. And I really hope it comes through and that I book it, because I really enjoy working on that side of my personality, the very professional, organized, attention to detail, no bullshit side. So I'd really love to work more roles on that side.
What can you? I know I'm jumping back a bit, but what could you talk about your growing up? I mean, what because I don't quite think you got really late into it. What made you want to become an actor?
Well, I was born literally. When I say born, I mean literally the moment I was born, I had a camera on me.
Okay.
I've had a camera on me from day one. My father is a photographer. My father was also a performing artist. He was in a band called Santa Fe in the 70s. And the sort of knack for performance has always been in my family. Before him, my grandmother was a prima ballerina in the 40s, and we're just a family of performers. And then my cousins are in a band right now called Sunroom that's taking off in California. And so like, I'm shocked. They're getting apparently they just did a thing with Netflix where they're going to start using their music on a couple of their shows. And so
that's cool.
Our family is just like, it's just, I guess it's in our blood. I don't know, how else to say it.
It's kind of like just a thing to carry on. And do you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 half brothers and a half sister. My father had 2 children in his first marriage, and they're about 15 years older than me. And that's my nephews. So my nephews are only like a few years younger than me.
Yeah.
And so they're my brother's boys, and they have the band in California, Sunroom.
Gotcha. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about a few things. You've got 3 or 4 things coming up that I saw were in post-production. So let me ask you first about when you finished Saving the World. You're definitely in that, correct? With
Oh yeah, no, I'm in it. And I'm just like, when is it coming out? I haven't heard anything about it. I want to know
yeah,
because it's oh, I'm sorry. I just misheard you. I thought you were talking about Keyhole Garden. So when you're
I
finished
was gonna
saving the
ask. I
world,
was gonna ask about that. Yeah,
I'm sorry, my brain just like completely replaced what you said.
that's okay.
um, so when you finish saving the world, I have an interesting story for you.
Good.
Great film, beautiful script. Jesse Eisenberg did it and directed it. And can I just tell you, Jesse Eisenberg is one of the nicest people I have ever met in my life.
That's good to hear.
Very, very down to earth, incredibly kind, patient, loving to people, would come on set every day and greet everyone and remember people's names and details that they told him about his life. Do you know how rare it is for big superstars like that to be that humble and approachable? So anyway, I got cast with this great role on When You Finish Saving the World. I was so excited, and Jesse and I got along really well, and he wrote me a bigger part.
Okay.
In 3 days before I was supposed to go on set, I tested positive for COVID.
Oh no.
I know. And they couldn't push production because, it's an independent film. They don't have like unlimited billions of dollars to work with.
Yeah.
And so I lost it.
Wow.
And everybody was really sad. Jesse sent me a personal email saying that he was really disappointed. I was so devastated. I'm still getting over that because it was such a great role. I got to work with Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching Julianne Moore for years, and I think she's fabulous. And I was so excited to work with this woman, and she was kind and just giving as an artist, and that was that. And I had COVID, and I had to sit here and do the COVID. And you know what? Please know when I say this that I was very lucky. I was very lucky with having COVID because a lot of people lost a heck of a lot more than I did. I just lost a job. That's nothing compared to what a lot of folks have lost. And so please forgive me if I sound like I'm trivializing the experience.
No, I understand.
But he was very disappointing.
Being in it, right?
Say it again.
Did you ended up still being in the film, correct?
He credited me, which is weird because I was on IMDb a month back, and I saw When You Finish Saving the World come up, and I was like, why did he still give me credit for that when they took me out of it? Here's what I think happened. They took a lot of set decoration photos before I got COVID and everything. And so I'm thinking they left all the set deck up because they sent me a picture. This is how sweet these people were. They sent me a picture of the desk they had made for me, for my character, with the pictures and everything of me and my dogs and me and my husband. And they sent me this picture when I had COVID. And like, I just sat here and cried because they just wanted me to feel included. And so to be honest with you, I don't know if they kept those photos in the film or not, but we'll see.
They just use a different actress in your photos.
Right.
Okay, well that's a bummer that you didn't end up getting in there. But what about Keyhole Garden?
Keyhole Garden, I'm really interested to see what happens with that because we filmed that back in 2016, 2017.
Oh, wow.
I know. And I'm like, what's the holdup? And it has some great actors in it. It's not like it didn't have a high level team. Zoe Saldana, let's see who else. Chris Coy is in it. Tom Waits, Garrett Hedlund. Just a bunch of like heavy hitters were in that, and it's a good story and everything. And so I'm like, what is happening here? Why hasn't this come out? And as of March, it's still considered post-production. So I don't know if they're waiting for post-COVID or if there's something weird happening. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those behind the scenes, different production money people things, and they just can't agree to sell it or something. Maybe that's it.
I don't know. But I liked my role in that real well. It was great. And I had a good time working with the actors that were on it. And I had some cool scenes. We got to work in an old hot rod car. So, I'm not complaining.
Oh, that's cool. Well, the last one I want to ask you about is another interesting one with a lot of really cool people. It's right now, I think it's called Vengeance that Pinto did. What can you tell me about that?
So I can't wait till that comes out. I mean, my mind was blown when I got on that set because they let me improvise with BJ Novak.
Yeah.
What? They like literally, we have this scene in bed together and we're sitting, I don't want to tell you all the details, but we're sitting and we're talking, and they just let it keep rolling. They were just like, they were just, they were just like, keep going, and we just did it. I mean, it was so great because, I mean, how often does somebody, who's not one of the lead players get to improvise with a star like BJ Novak, a comedy star like BJ Novak? And I held my own, like I did okay, and nobody was angry, and so it was a really epic experience. And I really have a lot of thanks to the lady that, oh gosh, I always forget her name. I think her name's Anne. And she was just such a sweet pea. And she was the co-director, the person that was sort of helping out BJ Novak with sort of analyzing the scenes and seeing what else he needed. But she's not credited as director or anything, but she was very present on set. And I just really have a lot of thanks to her. I wish I had contact with her so I could just send her a thank you card for being so encouraging to me and letting me really fly free on that set.
Yeah. Now, is Vengeance an anthology film? BJ's got something coming up. Was described as an anthology film, but I wasn't sure if it was this or something else.
I would call this dramedy.
Okay.
I'll call this dramedy because there's a lot of comedic relief in it, but then at the same time, it's being produced by Blumhouse, and at the same time, it revolves around a murder, and so I would call it dramedy.
But so it's a film. It's a one-story film, basically.
I think so. I think so. Yes.
He might have some other project out, and I some of the co-stars that I saw were Boyd Holbrook, Ashton Kutcher, and Issa Rae. Did you work with any of them?
No, my scenes were all with BJ.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just me and BJ in my scenes.
Do you have any idea when that might be coming out?
I couldn't tell you if you paid me, my friend, and I would like to know.
Okay. Yeah, so you've got a lot of stuff that's, in the ether, waiting to come out, but so far Intrusion is the one that seems like is definitely on track for, you said October, correct?
Yeah, and the only reason I know that is because my publicist was able to figure it out. And so, I mean, believe me, I always have feelers out trying to figure out what's happening because I really love doing red carpets and going to the premieres. But, with COVID, they're all sort of shut down right now anyway. I was really looking forward to doing the Army of the Dead premiere, but again, COVID.
Yeah, well, unless it's something like that movie that Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot are doing, they don't really tend to push out the release dates far in advance for Netflix. So
sure,
I think they held on to Army of the Dead pretty close to before it released. So.
And there was all kinds of drama with Army of the Dead where they had to do a recast, and they had to do reshoots and everything. Yeah,
they did that pretty seamlessly because I didn't realize until after I'd seen it that I read that Tig Notaro basically did her scenes in a vacuum against no one, essentially.
I know. They are such an incredible actor. I really have to say, Tig, I'm just blown away by that individual. Yeah,
it was a pretty. That movie was actually a lot of fun. I gotta say. So, I know you didn't have a sizable role and you weren't on screen for very long, but what was working with Zack Snyder like?
Oh, he's epic. He was very friendly. Somebody you'd like to sit down and have a beer with. Somebody you want to sit down and chat around the fire with. Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed him. He was very friendly, talkative. Just a cool guy, and I just working as well in such a small little environment as that private jet with 90 something degree heat inside the jet the entire time. Talk about keeping a great attitude. I mean, I can't tell you how many directors that I've worked with that are just not the friendliest people is the nicest way that I can put it, and very frustrated and like pressed, like, I gotta get this, And he was not. He was just like, yeah, we're just here. This is great. And it was just so much fun to like work with someone that's so chill.
Yeah. I think that happens with people that are generally a little bit more ready and confident in their abilities. I was on a film set, a few years ago with a friend of mine down in Atlanta, and he's done a number of big movies in the past, and I was expecting him to kind of get, cheesed off about something. But honestly, it was one of the most relaxed things I've ever seen, which, I wasn't expecting. Everybody was and it was a small budget. I mean, comparatively, it didn't have, it was an action film with a smallish budget. And they didn't have a ton of time, but they still managed to just have it really be a nice family moment. And I think it just depends on the person. And I think a lot of people that don't necessarily have the confidence or the, I guess, team building that's, others do, suffer from that when they're under pressure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely hear a lot of horror stories about people being mistreated because the director doesn't have enough confidence in himself, I think.
Yeah, and sometimes too, there was a production that I won't discuss, but
yeah.
I had a production that I worked on with a first-time director a few years back, and it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had because the director was so under pressure and stressed out and I guess unsure of himself. I don't know, but it was, I mean, at one point I just had to walk off set and cry because he was just so condescending.
Yeah. But are those smaller in number than greater? Okay, that's good.
Yes. I mean, sure, don't get me wrong. There's a decent number of directors out there that are just, doing their own thing. And so they don't have a lot of time to get to know you or chat with you. But for the most part, the directors that I get to work with are, I can tell you a handful of stories of just great human beings, and I can tell you just a couple stories of toads. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's good. Do you think, compared to when you started, do you think Hollywood is finally, especially in the era of Me Too and social media and basically being called out now, do you think Hollywood's becoming not so much just a safer place, but a more friendly place, or at least tolerable place?
There's goods and bads. There's always going to be goods and bads. And I think that it's just, people are being more careful now. I can tell you that. That doesn't mean that they're still not the a-holes and they're still not the angels.
Nobody's going to stop that.
Yeah, exactly. But they're more careful. I'm seeing a lot of, what I've seen an influx in? I've seen an influx of safety training.
Yeah.
You should see what they're putting crew through these days in terms of safety training. And if you go back to the 90s, if you go back to the 2000s, the early 2000s, crews, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't acting in 2001 or 2002, but it was not the same. There's so much more safety consciousness and sexual harassment consciousness. But in terms of people being disrespected and walked all over, I think that comes with the territory.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. But again, I've worked with directors that are just incredible human beings. I've been very fortunate. I've only met one or two not very great people, but you know what? The other ones that I've worked with, I've been very blessed.
That's good. Is there anything I may have missed that's coming up that you know of that we should talk about? Well,
there is one thing that's coming up, and it's going to be on the film festival circuit, and it's called Misanthrope.
Oh.
And it's an Andy Kostelik film, and it's hush hush right now because I think it's gonna do something maybe pretty incredible in the film festival circuit.
Okay.
And I know that a lot of people aren't on the film festival circuit and looking at it, but sometimes those films can get a decent amount of attention and lead to other things. And so I would say here in the next 6 months or so, keep your eyes out at some of the major film festivals, and you might just see someone there.
Okay. All right. So look out for Misanthrope at the festivals. I know Chicago, that's where I'm at, has theirs in October, so maybe that'll be there. And look out for Intrusion starring or co-starring Sarah Minnich on Netflix in October.
Yes, please do. Please do. And then if people want to know what I'm up to, or if I have something else in the running, they can always find me and what I'm up to on Instagram at sarah.minnich.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be sure to include social media when I post the interview.
All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your time and your questions.
No, I appreciate you too. And I wanted to say, and well, let me just wrap up and I'll say it to you.
Sure.
Again, this was Sarah Minnich with us on the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. Excuse me. Sarah, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll have my editor cut. I wanted to apologize for the other day.
Oh, are you okay, by the way?
Yeah, no, I'm getting old.
Okay, I can relate. Well, no worries. I couldn't wait much longer because I had an audition I had to deal with.
No. I tried. I got to Nilda as soon as I could, and I taken some pain pills. So I got the email later that you would join the thing. If I had been awake, I would have come on to let you know, but I was pretty much in the zone. So.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend.
No,
well,
okay.
I hope
I'm
you're
good.
feeling better now.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much again.
Cheers. You have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.